Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend, coach, mentor, and tormentor, John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Jim, I'm doing great. It's great to be with you recording today.
Good. I had somebody say one time, why does Jim call you a tormentor? And the reason is I don't mind, like when iron sharpens iron, something is ground off in the process, right? Mm-hmm. Something is corrected. Something that was dull is sharpened. Something that wasn't now is. Something that is now isn't. And I one of the things I appreciate about your coaching process is you don't tell me how nice I look today. You tell me when you got something hanging out of your nose, Jim, and I need you to fix it because I love you. You know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We've had so many great conversations through the years that have made me a better father, a better husband, a better pastor, a better me. So thank you for being a tormentor in the best of senses. Tell us a little bit today about podcast number 134.
Yeah, Jim, I want us to talk about 4 signs that may indicate you're living your life out of rhythm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, define rhythm for those that might not be. If you've heard this podcast more than twice, you probably heard us talk about rhythm.
Yeah.
But just in case.
So let me give you examples of rhythm.
Yeah.
There are spiritual rhythms in our life, prayer, study of the word, journaling, private rhythms. And then there are corporate spiritual rhythms, right?
Yeah.
Corporate gatherings and prayer meetings and things like that. So those are some spiritual rhythms. We have friendship or relational rhythms in our life. Yeah. We have friends who we spend one-on-one time with. We have friends that we're in a small group with. And we don't necessarily see those people every day, but we should be seeing them on a fairly regular basis. And there's a rhythm of that. There are work-rest rhythms, which we spend a ton of time on. Talking about. There's a daily rhythm, knowing when to start and stop your work. There is a weekly rhythm, and we just talked about how to have a great day off in pod 133. So that has to do with Sabbath and things of that nature. We talk about a quarterly rhythm where you get away from your house or your office for part of your day. Go somewhere where you don't have to think about projects at home and spend a couple of hours reflecting, being quiet. I like water, so I like going to the beach and watching water for a couple of hours. And then annual rhythms, taking a good chunk of time off for vacation. So those are examples of
great rhythms. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So with that in mind, now we can do this right and we can do this wrong. Mm-hmm. And if we're doing it wrong, there's probably evidence, right? A loving God gave us the ability to feel pain because pain tells us something's wrong.
Yes.
Where it's located, so we can do something about it. So what are your thoughts on maybe some of the yellow lights on the dashboard of our heart, our soul, or our body?
Yeah. And and the thing is, Jim, it's possible that you might be out of rhythm and not know it.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
I know that I struggle with that. I'm out of rhythm. Yeah. My wife knows it,
Yes.
when I'm out of rhythm, she gets that. I mean, maybe that's one of the dashboard lights. I don't have that on the list, but your spouse is probably a great dashboard light, to let you know.
And I assume it's because you're so much kinder and so much more willing to help with dishes and things. That's probably
we'll go with that, I guess.
We all know, every man and every woman listening knows exactly what you meant.
Right. So here are some dashboard lights I think we can look at, some practical ones that might signal we have some arrhythmia issues in our life. Here's the first one: Sunday evening dread.
Yes.
If you feel a knot in your gut on Sunday night as Monday approaches, one of the reasons might be you're out of rhythm. Now, it could mean other things like, you don't like your job. Maybe that's why you have, or you have an ornery boss, and that's why you don't, Monday is dreadful to you. But if you love what you do and the looming week feels like a gauntlet that you just need to get through, you may have a rhythm problem in your life. And pay attention to that. Those feelings, you called it pain, Jim. Those feelings of dread are informational. Yeah. And they might be revealing that your work rhythm is out of whack. So this Sunday evening dread, I think, Jim, how much I love what we do at Converge Coach.
Yeah.
You know that
Yeah.
about me. And
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
that's not hype. We love
Yeah.
the work that we get to do. But
Yes.
even there are those Sundays where I think about, oh man, look at the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I have that feeling, more and more, it's probably a warning light flashing saying, John,
Yes.
your schedule's out of control, or your
Right.
friendship rhythms are
Yeah.
out of whack. Usually
Right.
those two go together, actually.
Sure.
If my work rhythm is way out of whack, usually my relationship rhythms are
Something's got to
out of
give.
whack.
Yeah.
That's right.
To be working so much, you're giving up other things.
That's right. So that's the first one. Here's another one, increased irritability.
What do you mean by that? I'm just kidding. Couldn't resist.
I used to think that being irritable was always a sign of immaturity. And, I think it many times it is that.
Sure.
But I think sometimes irritability can be due to a lack of rhythm in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use work life as an example. If your work life is all flow, onshore crash of waves, I like waves as an example here, with no ebb, no matter how much you love what you do, no matter how much success you are having, how much fruit you're bearing, irritability is probably going to knock on your door.
Yeah.
And so I think that irritability is, and I hope this doesn't sound wrong, but it's almost like a God-given signal, right? That your life is out of kilter. What do you think about this one, Jim? I'm curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think let's use a different word for irritability, just being angry about something in an unusually common way, right?
I was trying to be nice,
Yeah, but what is anger? Anger is a secondary emotion. Yes. Right. I was jealous, so I became angry. You hurt my feelings, so I became angry. It's not the first thing we feel. There's a reason that we feel something, and then anger is what we reach for. So that that sense of feeling overwhelmed. It's too much. There's too much going on. Hey, could you hand me the salt? Why do I have to do everything around here? Where did that come from? Anger is not the problem. The problem is a poor maintenance of the inside of me and the rhythms of my life that are now coming out in ways where I feel overwhelmed. And I'm gonna use overwhelming force to respond to the overwhelming feelings that I'm having. Yeah. And it comes out as irritability. We're just telling everybody, leave us alone. When we're irritable, we're just saying, leave us alone. Well, why? Well, because there's too much happening around us or in us at the moment to digest one more thing. So, and we can't yell at the IRS who wants our tax returns right now. Right. But we can yell at our kid who said, can we go outside and play? And we can be irritable with him. So people who are closest to us are going to feel the brunt of that lack of rhythm. And it's going to come out in an overwhelming way, if you will, because we're overwhelmed. There's no other way for it to come out.
That's such a good point. What you just said, I think, is so important, that other people experience us when we're out of rhythm. Yeah. The people that we lead experience that. Our spouse experiences that. Our kids experience that. Our congregation, if we're a pastor.
That's actually why I'm chuckling. That happened to me Sunday. We had a technical problem of something that should have been dealt with. And now I'm in front of hundreds of people, irritated, trying not to be irritated. So my aggression came out passively, which came out passive aggressive, which made it worse. And I thought I handled it really well. Yeah. So I had 7 people now comment to me, man, you were really mad Sunday. I went, in the middle of a sermon, they perceive me as really mad. And I was, this moment's so important. And why didn't you press that button? And the hardest position to fill on our staff is anybody that presses a button when I'm speaking. That no one wants to volunteer for that because it's, being a church sound man, no one tells you when it's right. Yeah. They only notice it when it's not what they want. It's, yes, I'm chuckling because if my staff are listening right now, they'd all be kind of snickering and pointing to each other and whispering, and I'd be, And
so let's just take that as an example. Yeah. That doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Right.
It doesn't mean that. I don't think that's what that means. I think it means it was just one more thing, right? Yes. It's a possible indicator, Jim, that you're overcommitting
Mhm.
time and emotional resources. So
Yeah.
pay attention to the irritability level in your life, because it is a way that God speaks to us about something else. Like you said, it's a secondary thing, right? A secondary emotion. But it's a way God communicates to us, say, hey, something's not right.
Yeah.
And I want to get your attention. And so in a sense, it's that dashboard like God has given us that is so I think it is so accurate in this way that it every time it tells me, okay, something's up that I'm not in touch with.
Yes. There's more going on. Yeah.
I've got to get in touch with that.
Yeah. I have to sit here and think about it, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. There is more going on than just that moment. Right.
Almost always.
Yeah. It was funny, what I perceived as it's so common for me to be irritated that I thought I handled it as a common thing. And my sons came to me with 7 now stories of people that came to them and said, wow, he was really upset. When I thought I handled it so well, but I made a joke about, hey, thanks. Let's give the tech team a hand. We're going to miss them because they're all fired. Ha ha ha. You know, that kind of stuff. I thought, man, he just threatened to fire everybody. Like, oh, I'm just dealing with it, but I'm dealing with it publicly.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of pastors who are listening right now can connect to that, right? Something's happening in the middle of a talk, and and you're doing your best not to let that whatever's going on inside of you that isn't probably good, not to let that come out in a way that is hurtful to people. So,
and John, if I touch technology, something normally breaks. My computer it just froze in the middle of that. My computer screen froze.
We did that on purpose, just to see. Just to see if I get irritated, right?
I'm going to fire my IT guy. Forget it. They're all fired. I quit.
But let me give you a couple of more real quick, Jim. These again, we're talking about dashboard lights that might be an indicator that something in your life is out of rhythm. Here's a third one, and this one you may have never thought of before, and it's chronic physical ailments.
Yes.
Let me explain. If you've had a string, encountering a string of illnesses, and again, if you're sick with cancer or you're sick with chronic disease, please, I'm not talking to you about that. That's a whole nother area. I'm not diminishing what you're going through in any way, shape,
not at all.
But for me, I went through a stretch I would say it was in my 30s, Jim, where I was sick almost all the time. With respiratory problems, the flu, sinus infections, migraine. I was having migraine headaches. I'd never had migraine headaches in my life until my mid to late 30s. And I know that all of those things could be singularly because of something physical going on in your body. I get that. But I wonder, is it possible that the source of those ailments could be elongated stress?
Sure.
Because my rhythms are out of whack. I remember when my work life was out of rhythm, Jim, I would get sick during vacation.
Yeah.
And it happened like clockwork. And my boys would complain. They'd say, Dad, you always get sick on vacation. And I think what was happening was I was wound so tight from work that when I got away from work and my body didn't know what to do anymore, and it reacted. And it was very disappointing to the boys, because I wasn't my usual fun self when I wasn't feeling well. What do you think about this one? I want to be careful because I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way.
Sure.
But
scientifically, what you stated as an observation has been proven in the laboratory. Our mind is somehow separate from the physiology of our brain, that is in some way separate from the physiology of our bodies at a cellular level. So Dr. Caroline Leaf has done a lot of work on this. And if our mind, our soul, I guess the Bible would say, certainly the mind is contained in the human soul. It's a non-physical thing. The science really hasn't understood it, but we are somehow, the physiology of our brain is affected by something else. the Bible calls the soul, the mind would be part of that. So for us to always be upset, always be angry, always do well, or we're telling our body we're at war constantly. Our brain then kicks in and begins to do the things that a person needs to survive a conflict. And so we're adrenalized, we're the cortisol, we've got so all of a sudden we're stressed out, our blood pressure, our heart rate, and now organs begin to be compromised because we just have to win this fight. Well, it's not a fight, it's a war. Right? Once you live that way, you're at war. There's a reason people rotate in and out of combat. There's a reason why we don't put a unit on the front lines and leave them there for years. They fight. There's losses, there's battles, there's bullets, and then we pull them back off the line because you have to rest. You have to breathe. You can't be at war every day. You can be in a battle, but you can't be at war every day. So physiologically, even the military has noticed shell shock in World War I would be an example of leaving people in battle way too long under stressful circumstances. So we can create dynamics that make us very prone to certain illnesses. The autoimmune things, the arthritis things, the Crohn's, the undiagnosable things. What's that one that everybody gets in their stomach? There's an abbreviation for it, but our listeners are saying it right now.
Yes.
It's maybe irritable bowel. Irritable bowel syndrome. But again, like you're saying, I'm not saying IBS is because you're stressed out. I'm just saying that if you want IBS, the quickest way to get there physiologically is to live in combat at all times with everything, everywhere, everyone. And eventually the most sensitive organs like our stomach are attached to our brain, which is attached to our soul. If our soul's not at rest, there's a good chance that our body is preparing us to live in combat, and we're not prepared to live at war. We're prepared for battles, but we're not prepared for elongated, year-long troubled marriages, difficult deacons, financial stresses and strains, kids that have gone wayward. I mean, the things that are really hard are you say, man, it's killing me. It's like literally it is killing you in many ways. Scientifically, it's proven you're shortening life, if not diminishing it greatly.
So Jim, I appreciate your perspective on that. So what we're really saying here, I think, is if you find that a sickness is visiting you more often than not, it doesn't mean you're out of rhythm, but I think it's something to explore.
Absolutely.
And let's check. Am I out of rhythm in my walk with God? Am I out of rhythm relationally?
And can I just prove it with a theory?
Yes.
And can I postulate a theory?
This will be interesting.
How many days in a 3-month period is your elementary school child sick and needs to stay home from school? Contrast that to how many days over the course of the summer vacation your child needs to stay in bed. And I'll bet you we can correlate that if things aren't going well in school, they don't want to go. They're checking out. They're getting sick. But how many kids get sick over summer vacation or Christmas vacation or spring break? They don't. Because they when they're stressed, they're more prone to those illnesses. When they're not stressed, they're digging holes and building tree forts and chasing girls. You don't get sick. It's too much fun.
And stress is not all bad, right? We know that some stress is
not if you're in combat. It's a great thing to have.
It's the elongated stress that creates some of these physical ailments. Okay, so let me give you one more, Jim. I really appreciate your thought process on the third one. Here's a fourth dashboard light, and that is discomfort with downtime. Yeah. I'm about to step on toes.
Yeah, I just lifted my feet. Yeah.
If you get fidgety when you're not working or doing something, you're uncomfortable with taking a breather and just don't know what to do with yourself during downtime, I can almost guarantee you're out of rhythm.
Yeah.
God did not create you to be the Energizer bunny during all your waking hours. God did not build our bodies that way. Josh did a beautiful job in the last previous pods that we had him on, Josh Spurlock, talking about the limitations that God has built in to us as humans. I think work should include short bursts or bursts of productive effort followed by moments of retreat and recess. Watch the ocean waves for an hour and God will speak to you about work and the healthy way to do it. If downtime makes you nuts, makes you crazy, you might be running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
and cortisol. And not only is that bad for you physically, it is definitely bad for you mentally
Yeah.
and emotionally, because adrenaline increases your heart rate, it elevates your blood pressure, it boosts your energy supply. It's a hormone released from our adrenal glands, and its major purpose is to prepare the body, as you mentioned earlier, for fight or flight.
Yeah. Right.
Cortisol is the primary stress hormone that helps regulate our blood pressure and our cardiovascular function. And if there is this long-term activation of the stress response system and overexposure to cortisol, it can disrupt almost all of your body's systems.
Absolutely.
And it puts you at increased risk for health problems, including anxiety and depression. And so it matters, Jim. This matters so much. And
it matters.
And so when I hear somebody tell me, I have a hard time just sitting still.
Yeah.
It concerns me deeply, because I wonder, is there adrenaline addiction? Is there cortisol addiction? Is there false guilt? A tape that's running in their mind that says, unless I'm doing, I'm not valued.
Yeah. Right. I'm not loved unless I produce what makes people love me.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like Josh, or actually you were saying in the last podcast about that Sabbath, I think one of the great pushbacks to Sabbath is, I don't know how. When was the last time I'm on vacation, but that means I'm going to Disney and then Epcot. And then it's like, well, it's a vacation away from your normal, but it's not rest. And to say, what's the biggest pushback of Sabbath? I think a lot of people say, the thought of sitting still from sundown one night to sundown the next night, I wouldn't know how to do that. And of course, that's not Sabbath, is sitting still. There are walks and there are meals and there are naps and there are, but I think that's the number one pushback is I don't know how. I wouldn't know how to rest that long.
And do you think, Jim, that we undervalue the internal work that's being done in our lives when we Sabbath? That we don't value what is being built on the inside of us as much as we value what's being built outside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone asked me this question years ago about stealing. I said, do you think it hurts? It grieves. It's a relationship. So there's laws that are broken, but he's not a judge. He's a father. Do you believe that stealing, is it the sin that breaks God's heart, or is the fact that we didn't trust him to provide for us that breaks God's heart? And if you apply that same thought to this, to Sabbath or to this, is it that we broke the Sabbath that breaks God's heart? Is that we didn't trust him enough that while we rested, he would continue to work?
And I think the answer is the second one, right?
Yeah, I have said this for years, but one of the greatest days of my life, my marriage, my ministry, is the day I resigned from being God.
Yeah.
When I decided I wasn't the provider, the protector, or the healer, when I decided I knew him well, but I was not him. So I wasn't responsible for the sun coming up tomorrow. And I wasn't responsible for everybody's attitudes, everybody's outcomes, I am responsible for certain things, and I should hold those responsibilities with the weight that comes with them.
Yes.
But man, my sons have a free will. My congregation has a free will. I have a free will, and I am not the savior. I am not the provider. And I cannot even stay in the game unless I understand the rhythms of the game to stay healthy. Why are we seeing so much failure today? And I know it's public people in mega churches, and this has to be part of it. They ignored, we all do, but again, we're not all known. We're not international names, but when people ignore what you're talking about today, there are consequences.
Yes,
and there will be rest, but often it's in a jail cell, or it's out of ministry or out of leadership.
Or recovering from depression or anxiety, where you're pretty much unable to work and produce. So Jim, if I would say this to those who are watching and listening today, by the way, we love all of you. We want you to know that. The reason we do this isn't because Jim and I feel like we don't have anything else to do with our life, or we get some sort of like sense of importance by we've got a podcast and we're going to tell you how things are. That's not our heart at all. Never. We do this because we care about you. We care about leaders. Yeah. This podcast is free. It's just free. We offer this as a hopefully a blessing and a help to those who watch and listen.
Yeah.
And if you're watching and listening today, please hear me. If one or more of these lights are blinking on the dashboard of your life, it's time to pause and reflect and ask yourself some questions. I'll give them to you here real quick. When was the last time I took a real day off? And if you want to know what a real day off is, listen to the previous podcast. I think it's 33.
Yeah.
Am I stopping at a reasonable time most days? Ask yourself that question. Am I in tune with activity that fills my mental and emotional tanks?
Yeah.
And am I scheduling those activities into my calendar? Here's another one. When's the last time I hung out with replenishing friends with no other agenda than to have fun?
Yeah. Right. Right.
You know, if you're listening and watching today, you and you alone are responsible for the rhythms in your life. So please pay attention. And if you find yourself way out of rhythm, way out of whack, and you don't know how to find your way back, get help.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of help to do it. If you're suffering from major arrhythmia in your life, it's really hard to solve that by yourself. And so we're here to help you with that. And if we can't help you with that, we know somebody. Yeah. I'm sure we know more than one somebody who can help you.
Right on. I love that. And I just want to echo that what John just said, that I had never even occurred to me that someone might think that we do this for any other reason besides be love people, because that's the only reason we've ever thought of,
right.
So we do love you guys, and guys as guys and gals, obviously.
That's right.
Just take good care of yourselves so that you can take good care of the people that God's placed in your life. It just, I don't think I've ever met somebody who regretted their day off. I met lots of people who regretted never taking the day off.
That's right.
I don't think I've ever met a person who regretted their date night. I met lots of people who regretted never having a date night. It's so simple once you make it a priority. And so we are praying for you. Mm-hmm. We are cheering for you. We are here for you. Convergecoach.com. Just reach out if you need to have a conversation. And like John said, we recognize when we're in over our head. And if we are, we know lots of people that have longer snorkels than we do that can help you with specialized areas of your life. It's synonymous. It's like we want you to get the help because we want you to continue to lead, So God bless you as you do. We are cheering for you. We're in your corner as you continue to lead very well from alignment.